Good evening, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Paranormal Brew. Every Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. I am your host, Taryn. And tonight I have an awesome woman with me who we are going to talk about, but just got back from the catacombs in Paris. She had pictures up and I was like, oh my God, it's the best. I'm a little jealous she went, but we're going to get to hear all about it. She runs and owns Plumb Paranormal. So we're just going to be doing some roundtable paranormal ghost hunting talk tonight. Again, I want to thank everybody for being here. And before I get any further into it and I start to go off on nothing, I'm going to bring Cheryl in. So everybody, please welcome my wonderful guest, Cheryl. Good evening.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
How are you?
Fantastic. A little jet lagged, but that's quite all right.
Yes.
I'm here for this.
Yes. No, thank you so much. I was like, wait a minute. Because I saw your post about being at the catacombs and I'm like,
wait,
wow.
Where is that?
Yeah. I was like, holy crap. I was like, I hope she's going to be home. I was like, oh, she
Which I'm coming to you live from the airport. I'm about to go home. No, I'm home.
Yes. Well, welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely.
Before we get into all the good fun stuff, can you tell everybody just a little bit about yourself? A little bit about you, how you got into the paranormal, and we'll just kind of go from there.
So I grew up in the Central Valley of California, and let me tell you, there's not much to do. So when I was very young, my mom would, pile me and my friends in the car and take us out in the middle of the night to go ghost hunting. So she would run us around at cemeteries. I know, right? Take us to cemeteries and abandoned buildings and let us run around with flashlights. So, immediately when ghost hunters came on TV, it was like, that was our thing. So that was kind of how my whole family bonded. So in 2014-ish, I found Strange Escapes, which is Amy Bruni and Adam Berry's travel company.
Right.
Spectacular, by the way. So me and my sister went, and it was a total, we absolutely bonded again. It was fantastic. Got to meet a lot of different people in the paranormal and people interested in the paranormal, and it just kind of threw me right back into whatever was mainstream at the time.
Right.
So after the pandemic, I had seen, Jane Blumke had this company called the Dark Zone, and they were streaming from different haunted locations during the pandemic since no one could leave. And then they ended up having a live event close to me, and I just met all the people, and there we go.
That's awesome. And you
It
just
was
started.
pretty amazing.
So then, is that when you started the Plumb Paranormal? Is that when you started your group?
Yeah, shortly after. Really, all the Plumb Paranormal is all of the people that I work with, because I work with so many different companies and so many different people that I just kind of compile everything, in one place. So I can put links to my friends, and I can put links to things that, interest me. And I really like to support people in the community, because there is a lot of discord in certain groups. So, it's an open book. And
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. That's why I do my show. You know what I mean? I do my show because, I like to promote people like yourself, locations, events, whatever have you, you know what I mean? And the good people,
Right.
because there are some people out there that aren't so good, but the good people
You
that
got that right.
are in this for the right reasons, right?
That's
Um,
right, and I mean, really, it's just I'm just so interested in the paranormal because there's just so much to be known,
mhm.
and everybody has a different way of investigating, so just going out with different people, I'm really getting to learn all the different ways that they communicate and maybe how I can communicate, and
Yeah.
it just kinda betters everything.
That's so true. Now you were introduced to me through Matt Kondracki. Thank you, Matt, for that. And he has Dark Echoes, Paranormal TV, which I was lucky enough to be on one of the investigations with them, and
Fantastic.
yeah. So what you said is very important. I agree with you. When you work with different people, you learn different ways to investigate. You see different ways that people, use equipment or how they ask questions or what they do. And it's the education or the knowledge is never ending when you do it that way. And
Right, 'cause who really knows it all at this point?
right. So
So many
true.
steps that you can go to get better evidence.
Yeah.
And, on his show, I actually know Scott Allen, who
Yes.
is, their medium. He was on our trip to Scotland.
Oh wow.
I went to Scotland with him for, 10 days, and he's an amazing medium. He
Yeah.
brought forward my grandfather, which was, like, the last person on the planet I would have expected to come to me in Scotland, of all
Right.
places.
Right.
Um, but yeah, he's spectacular. So
Yes.
I'm glad that the group that he's in is doing so well and getting all this exposure. It's fantastic.
So I actually met Scott because the investigation that I was on with Dark Echoes, Scott actually came to that location. So yes, I agree with you. I loved working with him. I loved
Oh,
being
he's
around
so
him.
sweet,
He really is so
just
sweet.
easygoing,
Yeah.
and I think
Yeah.
that's why the spirits are so comfortable, you know?
Yeah. 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 For sure. I mean, you know, so all right. So let's start with like, what was if you can remember, your first experience that you had that you were like, oh my God, this is like what I wanna do. Something, the thing that made you
The girl, I was so
you
curious
were
because I used to say, like, "I'm dead inside," and it was really the bells and whistles. If I didn't hear something or see something, nothing happened. So, it wasn't until my very first EVP that I caught, at the Stanley Hotel in the music hall.
nice.
Oh my gosh. I had been on 3 investigations with the Strange Escapes previously. So much audio and nothing, not one thing. And then when I heard it was like a choir of children,
Wow.
calling this guy a liar. 'Cause he had gone up and he was telling the story, um, and he was telling it wrong, and the obulist was saying, "He's a liar, you're a liar, 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 liar," and then he says to the spirits, "Well, what was I lying about, Eddie?" And that's when the choir of children, it was like, "Liar." And I mean, I'm in my apartment
Wow.
with my headphones on, and I hear that, and I'm goosebumped. I put my quarter away. I called my mom. I was like, "What is this? And who's coming home right now?" 'Cause I'm like
Wow.
so
Ye
that was really my first experience of actually getting some kind of an evidence to where, okay, maybe this is a thing, and I love
so, so I went to Rolling Hills one time. I've been there twice now, but Rolling Hills, the first
it.
time I went, one of the EVPs I caught was children, and they were singing, and it was like what you think you would hear on a horror movie, right? Where it's like that creepy,
Exactly.
and they were singing "London Bridge is Falling Down,"
Oh
and all
my
you hear
gosh.
is like
Mm-mm.
"London Bridge is falling down," and I'm like, "What the?" I'm like, Wait a minute." I'm like, "Is there any kids here?" And they're like, "Absolutely not. There's no kids here." You know what I mean? And like, I mean, that I'm gonna give myself chills thinking about it, but it
I
was
I did too.
so I can totally understand what you heard because I kinda heard I know that creepy kid little sound.
Yes, so that was kind of my first EVP, and that's why I specifically love audio the best.
Me too.
Audio is my jam, baby. So,
Yes.
I use a plethora of audio equipment. So I've got like the Zoom that's on my camera rig, and then I've got the an Olympus recorder that's kind of mid range, but that's where I got the children. Uh, and then the Panasonic RDR60, which is my absolute favorite on live investigations because instant gratification. Who
Right.
doesn't
Sure.
like
Sure.
instant gratification, even
Right.
if it's a little
Yeah.
scratchy.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
So it's good to be able to really like, "Okay, I heard that on this, like, let me check this one, let me check this one."
I am the same exact way. I have like 4 or 5 recorders,
Yeah.
and I'm a part of Paranormal Peaches, and we investigate, and they like to do EVP bursts, where I like to have my recorders going the entire time. So we'll use one of their
Mhm.
recorders for bursts, and mine'll keep going. And I can't
Yeah.
tell you how many times that we've actually gotten disembodied voices while we're listening back to the burst. They're not on the burst recording. It's
Yeah.
almost as if I said I want we always talk about, like, do you think that they can hear better via recorder the way we can hear better via recorder? So they're hearing
Right.
the questions and then answering. I'm catching them on my recorder, but they're not on the burst recorder.
Mhm. And so many times, that's why I love that Zoom recorder because it's so high definition that you're gonna hear that disembodied voice that's 2, 3, doors away that you didn't hear with your own ears or that you didn't notice right away.
So
And I
be
mean, it's kind of another way to back up my evidence too,
sure.
because I'm always questioning. That's I'm an eternal kind of. I'm always going to question it. I'm very skeptic on things, but I'm getting very excited these days.
Yeah. And that's the thing, like, that's why I have my recordings because because sometimes I can hear with my ears. I hear the disembodied voices, and then
Mhm.
luckily, I am recording because if I hear something, I go right back and I'm like, I mean, like, I have so many on record where I'm like, I heard this or I heard that. And it's exactly, what I thought I heard is captured on the recorder. So it
I
kind
love
of
it.
validates. Now, you being so into EVPs, and like, do you find that you're clairaudient, like you hear voices?
I was raised. I was a classically trained trumpet player. I'm ear trained musically, so I think that really helped in how I recognize sounds and different frequencies. I'm very, pitch savvy and I think I have very good hearing. My poor husband kinda deaf, but I think I make up for it. So yeah. But yeah, I'm very in tuned with sound.
That's awesome. Yeah, me too.
So honestly, I never would have thought myself as any kind of a sensitive, but the longer I hang out with sensitives, mediums, I mean, they're kinda teaching me what my feelings are. So I feel like now I can really sense a lot more than I used to when I first started.
Right. Yeah, and you know what? You gotta trust yourself too. I'm like, people are like, "Are you sensitive?" I'm like, "No, I'm a paranormal investigator. That's it. There's no bells and whistles with me except I can hear." Not all the time either. You know what I mean? Um,
Right. And I feel a lot more, like, I get the sick stomach and I get the goosebumps and, there's certain places that are worse than others. Like,
so
when I moved into my new place. I knew there was something here, but, it didn't seem bad or anything
right,
like
right.
that, so let's be honest, I've been investigating a little bit here and, trying to find out who started the fire a year ago and all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I know people frown upon investigating your own house, but if you can handle it, you know what I mean? Like, if you know what you're doing and you know that just because you hear get out doesn't mean they're telling you to get out of your house. It could be anything.
Right, and you know what? I feel like you get a lot of what you put out in these
Yeah.
haunted locations, like, I'm very non-threatening. I'm coming at it in a kind of a sensitive way, like, "Hey, man, I'm here. I'm gonna be here. Like, let's work together. Can you tell me what these blast people did over here? Because, we're not doing
Right.
that."
Um,
Uh,
Joe asks, "Have ever hear a voice, but when you play it back, it sounds totally opposite of what you heard?" Absolutely. Yes, I have.
so kinda like a disembodied sort of a situation where and when you play it back, or something that you hear on the recorder first, and when you
He
play it
said
back a second
he
time.
says when you record it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. It has happened. Definitely has happened. Destination Spooky says it happens all the time.
Yeah.
He says
Wow.
it. He also says, in addition, sometimes you hear things with your ear that doesn't come up on the recorder, and that's also
Absolutely.
has happened.
So one of the first investigations that I did with the dark zone after the pandemic was at the Los Angeles Police Museum, and we got hooked on that location right away because right off the bat we got whispers, whistles, full on
I
growls.
like how you combined whisper and whistles there.
Whistles,
Whistle.
yeah, so we got all of that, and at one point, we did an investigation on Halloween night, and I sent 35 audio files. Like, that place was booming.
Wow, that's awesome. That's
That
awesome.
is awesome. I love
I
that
wanna
place.
really quick, I wanna give a shout out because we have, 2 people in here, hopefully they're still here. Um, Somebody was from Australia. I'm going back to see, they said they were checking in from Australia. Um, I wanna say, I'm so sorry, if you can comment again and say it's me. And
Oh,
then
Big Ben, Urban Explorations.
yes. Okay, so Australia. And then
Wow.
and then we also have a Jing who is from Indonesia. So we're being watched in Australia and
Amazing.
Indonesia. So there you have it.
Well, thanks for staying up, you guys.
Yeah, really. All right. So Joe is kind of clarifying a little bit more. He says, like you hear a child, then on playback, it's a grown adult. Um, I take that back. Now I can't say that that's ever really happened to me. What I've heard with my ears uh has been what has been caught on the recorder. Now, I mean, sometimes your mind plays tricks on you, right? So sometimes when you listen to something or you hear something, you think you hear something, it's different on the recorder.
Right, and you know what? Everybody has their own interpretation, unless it's
Absolutely.
super clear. I just did it end of January. I went to the Westerfeld mansion, the Westerfeld house in San Francisco, which has a lot of history. It was built in the late 1800s, and many different iterations of people lived in this mansion. There was a group of musicians that lived there, and it was turned into apartments. And then a underground filmmaker bought the house, and he filmed a movie with um, Bobby Beausoleil from the Manson family,
Okay.
and the guy that started the Church of Satan. So, Anton LaVey was at this house, and I was
Oh,
full
wow.
on expecting, like, the darkest vibes, and I was kind of in a rough place because I was in the middle of a move, and I didn't know what was happening, so I felt a little bit vulnerable going to that place, but when we got there, I think because of the energy me and the team had, they were so excited, it seemed like, to have somebody that wanted to listen to them and communicate, that we just got the most positive interactions.
That's
And
awesome.
we did get an EVP. Um, we were in this kind of a music room, bedroom, and we had asked, who was here, and it did sound like it said Anton. So at that point, I just said, all right, I'm not going to ask any questions. I'm just going to press record and just say whatever you feel. And I recorded, and on playback, it was really hard to hear. We kind of had to listen, 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 listen. But when I got home and put headphones on, it was absolutely nothing but an energy. And then it reiterated it, nothing but energy. And I was thinking, holy. S man, this is like a really serious, this is a really serious message that we possibly just got from Anton LaVey of all, like, what world am I living in? Like, that is so
Yeah.
profound.
Yeah.
But the guy that was cutting the video and things like that, like, he didn't hear that exactly. But it was so clear to me that, like, once I heard it, it was like, there's no way that it says anything else. But he more heard more of like a "help me" or something
Right.
else. So,
Right.
it really is up to interpretation.
Absolutely. And what sucks about that is like sometimes you just you want to give your recording to somebody and go, "What do you hear?" But at the same time, you want to tell them what you hear
I
because you're like,
know.
"This is what I hear."
I know.
Sometimes that can lead to, that making somebody think they're hearing something
Right.
they're not. Like, so
Right.
my fiance is totally not into the paranormal. So a lot of times when I get recordings, I let him listen and I go, "What do you think this is saying?"
Girl, I do that too. What a lost cause. My husband is not a believer either. He totally poo-poos my stuff and then, says, "Oh no, there's nothing there." And I'll play him the best EVP I've ever captured, ever. It literally says F you, like loud. And he's like, "I don't hear anything."
No. Well, I gotta give
What?
it to my
Are you
fiance.
blocking me?
I gotta give it to my fiance. He will say, like, he hears stuff. He's like, "I don't wanna
That's
know it exists."
good.
He'll go it's not he doesn't poo-poo it away, he just says, "I don't wanna know. I don't wanna know it exists." Right? So, but I'll let him listen to stuff because I trust his ear because it's untrained. It's somebody that has no
Yes.
idea what they're listening for or whatever. So if he hears what I'm hearing, then I know that it's even more of a possibility that it's something we unexplained,
Mhm.
right?
And
Um,
that's what I like because, everybody can have a different iteration. So, I actually found out about Matthew through, John Mallory, who is with White Light Paranormal, and he sells these amazing recorders. He sells Panaboxes, DR60s. He's a very good for the audio community, let me tell you, because he helps fix them and he helps, put people together. There's a Facebook group, and we get to, see what other people are catching and sharing, and what do you think this says, and what do you think this says? So it's like, it's such a breath of fresh air, to be honest, because there are some people that hold things so close to their heart. They don't want to share it. They don't want to, have anybody else pick it up or try to do it themselves. And, you know,
right, right, right.
so I love that kind of a community where it's like, here's where you get the good stuff,
Yeah,
right? I can help you fix it if you have a problem, and then here's this whole community of people that you can geek out with, about this audio equipment.
um,
They're my people.
Big Ben says, um, "Spirit energy is really powerful when you feel it with the human body, something when it happens you will never forget."
Right, right.
Yeah, I mean, I think I don't know what's happening in the chat. I'm sorry, hold on a second. I just wanna make sure, everybody's cool. You know what I mean? Because 'Cause I'm like,
I think we're all good.
okay,
We're being good. Yes, all good.
okay, alright.
So, in as far as, like, when you actually get touched by the paranormal, have you had that happen?
I don't think so. I think, I was at the Shanley, not the Stanley, but the Shanley in New York,
I'm familiar.
and, I was laying in bed, and I remember now I had 5 cats. I love cats, love cats. I've been around cats my whole life. So, um, I was laying in bed, and it felt like what would be like a cat jumping on the bed and kneading at my feet,
Oh.
and I'm like this, I'm like, "Am I really feeling this right now?" And I was it was like one of the moments where I'm ashamed to say this, but I was afraid to look because I was like, "What's there?" And I look down and there's nothing there, and I'm like, "Shit." I'm like, "I wish something was there, but nothing's there. Now what?" You know? But I think, like, that's probably I mean, I'm sure there's stuff that's happened.
Yeah,
I
and
question
again, I'm like, "Okay, I think I felt something, but, it must have been this, I must have rubbed up against something, or that was a spider web." But I went to one seance at Mentryville, which is in the Santa Clarita area in California. And Patty Negri was doing a seance. And she was, she opened the seance, she did her thing, she, was talking to somebody. And at one point, she looked directly at me and she was like, "Do you know your dad grabs you?" I'm like, "No." I mean, I would have lost my mind if that would have happened beforehand. But she was like, "No, just pay attention, you know, but yes, he grabs you." And I'm just like, "Oh my God." 2 weeks later, girl, I am
Tell it.
about to fall asleep on my couch. I'm watching TV, kind of nodding off, and all of a sudden I feel four fingers and a thumb on my arm, just grips my arm.
Oh, wow.
If she didn't tell, I'm getting goosebumps again already. If she didn't tell me that it was my dad, I would have been out of there, like,
Yeah,
right away.
no,
But because she said that, I was like, "Oh my God," like, she was right. She
yeah,
was right.
that's awesome. Big Ben says, when my grandma passed, I could feel a big energy surge, very emotional, but uplifting feeling, very powerful energy was felt. And I think he says, he goes on to say, he was in the room with her.
Mm,
Yeah, I actually had a haunted MD. I don't know if you know Don Molnar. He's a haunted MD. He's a physician. He works in a hospital, and he actually talks about some of this stuff, like when people pass away,
mhm.
some of the things that they experience in the hospital. So,
Right,
you know,
right. So it's amazing that he could feel that, but, familial, I mean, that's somebody that's so close to you and, you know, they
well,
must have
I
needed you to
had one.
know that they were okay, that
Yeah.
they were leaving. Say
The
goodbye.
closest I've ever got with that is visit dreams. I've had a visit dream of my dad, and I had a visit dream of my mom, and I felt them. I could feel their skin. I could feel the uniform. I could feel everything, and it's so detailed. And to this day, my dad passed 25 years ago, but to this day, and I had this dream 20 years ago. I remember it like it happened yesterday. It's so vivid still in my mind because
You
it
are
was.
so lucky. You
I
are so
know,
lucky.
I know,
It
I know.
because, my girlfriend wrote a book and, it's all about recognizing signs from your loved ones. Melissa St. Hilaire, shout out. Um, and a lot of times in your dreams, that's the easiest way for them to contact you. You know what I mean? But for me, I sleep so deep and honestly, I don't dream and I don't pay attention and
You're so lucky.
I girl, 5 like, it drives my husband nuts because, like, I'm out within 5 minutes of my head hitting
Yeah,
that
we're
pillow,
me
and,
and him
like,
are the opposite.
it's gonna take a dump truck to, like, wake me up. But I had years ago, I had gone to this event, and I did a session with this crystal skull, and this guy that, handles the crystal skull and this woman who's a medium and wrote a book about it. They told me that I was going to be getting a message in my dreams. And I'm so sad that I don't really dream often because I'm like, what am I missing? What am I missing?
Yeah, yeah, it's true. Like, if I fall asleep, so I take a medicine to go to sleep because I otherwise I will be up all night. My fiance's like you, like he hits the pillow and he's snoring, and I'm like, "Mm."
Yeah.
So anyway, um, when I take the medicine, I am in REM the whole entire time I'm sleeping. I don't dream. You know what I mean? So sometimes I like to not take it just in case, you know. And there's the thing too, like you have
Right.
to remember, like you have dreams, but then you have a visit dream is so different because I have had dreams about my mom and I have dreams about my dad, but
Mhm.
I've only had one visit dream from each. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying there's a difference. Like you can dream about them. So I don't want anybody thinking that they have dreams and they're not good, that that's like a bad thing because that's not necessarily a visit. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
you're just,
right.
I don't want anybody to mistake what we're saying. You know what I mean? Um,
Mhm.
let me see. So Sandy Andrews said, my mother-in-law's right arm has had no feeling for years. She went on an investigation with me and felt ice cold of something grabbing her arm that had no feeling.
Oh my goodness.
Well, that's telling.
Yeah, that's serious. That's serious business.
Yeah. Um,
Now, is she sensitive that you know of?
Not that I know of. Um,
Mm.
Not that I know of, but she can answer that. Um, there was another thing in here I wanted to um here. I had a visit dream from my dad too. I also felt his skin. It was so real. He passed into, yeah. There's a difference between a dream and a visit dream, and it's just something that you just don't ever forget. Um,
Right.
Goth Bosch says, "Yup, more real than real. Not a dream though." I mean, if I was with him, I mean, whether he was on this plane or I was on that one, Have you
Mhm.
ever had a visit dream, or oh, you said you sleep really like
I
really
sleep
sound.
like the dead girl. I can't say that I've had a visit dream, but again, I always thought that I was like somebody that doesn't sense anything. It's only been within the last few years that I'm really started to take in things and recognize what's going on. Like,
Right. Yeah, yeah. No, I totally. Oh, she says no, she is not sensitive.
well, that's even crazier.
Yeah,
That's even crazier that she
yeah.
felt such a feeling. Wow, that's incredible.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Um, oh, look at this.
And there was other time okay, other than getting grabbed, I I did have an experience at the Glen Tavern Inn in Santa Paula, California. We were getting ready to do I don't remember if it was a fun investigation or with the Spirit Realm Network. We were going to do an investigation, and one of the guys had his stuff spread out all over his room. And I walked in there and my hand started to burn. And I looked down and there was a like a giant scratch on my hand. And of course I'm like, oh, my hand's dry, or whatever. So I'm trying to say something about everything that's not a scratch. But let me tell you, even the paranormal TV shows that not everybody loves on TV go to that location and talk about scratches. So it's
Right.
just one of those things. I think I did get scratched.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think I've ever had. Oh, okay. No, I take it back. When I first started with this paranormal group that's who I trained with and everything, they took me on my first residential, and I never saw it, unfortunately, but I we were in this one room, and it was a residential, so I felt burning on my back, and I was like, my back's burning, and they lifted my shirt
Mm,
up, and it said it looked like I had two marks on my back, like almost like these, and there was a medium there, and she said, "It's a child. They're trying to get your attention, but your energy is down here, her energy is up here, and she's just touching you, but it's hurting because she's just so more advanced energy wise than
mhm.
you are, even though she's a child. Like her energy is all the way up here and you're down here, but and it's taking that much to get your attention.
Right. And
Yeah,
and that's with the whole demonic thing. It's negative. I learned from John Tenney at one of these events that I went to. He was like, it's not always a negative thing when you get scratched or pushed or
right,
whatever, because honestly, these people could be in the afterlife just trying their hardest to get your attention, to answer you, to whatever. And then they try and they try and they try, and then all of a sudden, like, they try so hard and it happens so fast that it like and it they push you.
right,
Like, they didn't intend that to be negative,
right,
right? So how do we know our intentions when
right.
these things happen to us?
Right. It's funny you bring that up because, you know, um, I tell with residentials, I mean, it's to calm the family down. They're like, "Oh, something tried pushing me down the steps," and I'm like, "Okay,
Mhm.
did you ever see the movie Ghost with Patrick Swayze?" Yes. Okay.
I
Remember
guess.
remember when he was in the subway and he was
Send him over, I'm just saying.
I said he's in the subway and he's trying to kick the can. And he's trying
Mhm.
and he's trying over and over again. And then all of a sudden he uses like everything he can and he finally kicks it. I said, picture that. Like they don't they're imagine somebody trying to get your attention over and you're
Yep.
not hearing it, you're not feeling it, you're not,
Mhm.
eventually they're gonna be like, yo, You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
then go out
exactly.
there.
Sometimes you're just gonna have to slap me.
And
Just saying.
it's gonna feel like, it's something bad, but it really isn't, you know? So, um oh, wait a second. I just skipped. Hold on a second. Joe says, I don't think there's, oh no, that's not what I was looking for. Where is it? Here it is. Do you, Margaret's asking, do you think you attract what you expect?
Hi, Maggie. She went to Scotland with me.
Oh, cool.
Um, they're amazing. Actually, I mean, really, I think you do attract what you expect. Because again, it's like you get what you give.
Yep.
So I feel like that's a very good possibility.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
so
For sure. Megan, one of my peaches, there's two in here. Kim already said hi.
yay!
But
Hello, ladies.
I think you can sense if it's a negative contact. There's a different energy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Megan, she can add to that. But we were at the Hoover House in Pennsylvania, and she got grabbed there. And judging from her reaction, she was a little shooken up by it. So not
Of
necessarily saying
course.
it's negative, but I mean, I
Mhm.
think, I think if something unexpectedly happens, your natural instinct is fight or flight, and you're gonna
Right.
do one or the other, right? And most people, if there's a way out, they're going.
And you know what? The perfect example is, like I was saying before, the Glen Tavern Inn in Santa Paula. That place has so much going on. So we went there. The first time I went there was with the Spirit Realm Network, and we were in what they called the cowboy room on the third floor. And one of the guys was joking after we got an EVP that said, "All right." He was, basically like, "Are you related to Matthew McConaughey? Because he says, all right, all right, all right." And
All
it
right,
comes back
all
and
right,
says,
all right.
"Fuck you." Like it said, just. So I was like, okay, my first FU, that's perfect. And then another time we went there, we went to do a friend's investigation. We rented out 3 rooms or whatever. And we had this crazy situation happen where we basically had this woman spirit that was like trying to communicate. There was a man that was holding her back. Um, so we kind of followed her into one of the rooms, and it was like her and this nice guy, and then there was this mean man that felt like he was like holding them back, like he was doing something to them, and we basically like ended up having to do like a spirit rescue on that. And thank goodness we had Jay Blumke hanging out with us, filming. So we did get to do an episode on Dead Air Full Spectrum and talk about and play some clips and just share this incredible experience that we had. But um, it was like there's so much dark, but there's also like these light characters in the story. Now, fast forward to another day, we went there. We've been there many times. I just love to hate it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
We stayed in a different room. It's not even supposed to be a haunted room, but I knew somebody had passed in it. So we were just going to sleep, hang out, go to this show that a friend was doing that was like a seance, but it was a it was set up. It was set up to be like a 1800s kind of a seance, but he's a magician. So it's like, things are set up or whatever. But it was super fun. We get back to the place and we just stick out some cat balls and lay down and go to bed. Cat balls start going crazy. So here come the REM pods and everything else in my recorder. And
Sure, sure.
we started doing EVPs, and it was like, get out, get the F out. And just like literal, just did not want us there. Like, did not. But I didn't feel like physically in danger. I didn't physically feel like I'm sure he was annoyed. It's like, hey man, we're just here for the night. Don't mean to intrude, but is there anything we could do to help? Like, what do you need? What are you feeling? Um, but yeah, definitely negative as far as
Right,
how he was feeling,
right,
but I
right,
wouldn't necessarily say that was an evil man. Now,
right,
the thing that was holding the people back, like, I think that's evil. Like, I don't even know if that was human, to be
right,
honest.
right. Yeah,
But yeah, I've yet to feel in a situation where I literally felt in danger like physically. Like I've
Right.
never been in a location that made me feel like I have to leave.
Well, it's only happened to me once,
Oh.
but and I'm probably gonna get yelled at for saying this, but I thought it was a bear.
Well,
And
that's different.
yeah, I mean, I literally clenched my butt cheeks. A tear came out of my eye, and I went running as fast as I could because I thought it was a bear. Now, the people that were still outside, they saw different. But I thought I saw a bear, and I ran, I left. I ran so fast. I'm like, if I'm running, you run.
That's totally acceptable.
Yeah.
That's totally acceptable. Like, oh, little Sarah at the paint house.
Cheryl,
Oh my gosh.
yes.
Yes. Yes. So, Sandy, we flew to Massachusetts late last year, and we were going to go to the Conjuring House and do the Paracon and, do this whole spooky week with my girlfriend. And, things went cuckoo with the Conjuring House. So we canceled our reservation and we did something, near her home, where she grew up or whatever in Plymouth. And so I met up with my friends from Dead Air Full Spectrum, and he took us to this pain house. Now, the people that have taken over, they were kind of giving people the impression that there was negative stuff going on and, watch out and don't, ooh, be scared. But when we went there, we were playing with this little girl the entire time. It was nuts and it was amazing. And I think that was Sandy's first investigation, which was like spectacular, like, come on down. You know?
Oh, that's cool.
But I mean, literally to the point where I had the what is the paranormal tripwire
Oh, yeah.
surrounding us up in
Yeah,
the
yeah.
attic. And I
Mhm.
had, multiple lanterns and, boxes and like all this stuff going on. And at one point, there's just this energy surge, and you see all the lights go up, and you could feel it. You could even hear it in the spirit box we had going on. It was just the most insane, like, rays of vibration that I've ever experienced in my life. And I'm
Wow,
like, was that a child that did that? Like, that's nuts.
wow.
But
You've been
everything in
to
that house is positive.
you've been to a lot of places. I mean,
I
I'm
have been to a
impressed.
lot of
I'm
places.
impressed. I mean,
Yeah.
I've only been lucky enough to be on the East Coast and stuff, you know what I mean? Like,
But
you've
you
been
get to
like
go to some gangster places on the East Coast that I don't get to go to in California. So let's try to hook this up sometime,
yeah,
okay?
really, we'll switcheroo. I'll
Uh,
come out there, you come out here.
yeah. Well, when we went to Scotland, we were able to do an investigation at Balgony Castle, which is like a 13th century castle that
So
was
cool.
completely run down. And the guy moved in, the new laird, and he saved the property. And there's all kinds of stuff going on. Um, and at one point, they said that there's something in the chapel that does not like women. It like forces them out, forces them out. So after the tour left, we stayed behind and we filmed an episode for the Dark Zone. Well, we had this incredible storyline play out. Like honestly, it was almost like it was planned for us, because literally, I mean, we started in one area, and then it, took us to another place, and then we went to the whatever, and it ended in the chapel. Well, they say that this thing, maybe elemental or whatever, they talked about a guy that was deformed and shunned by women. And I'm like,
Oh,
well,
well, that
if
makes
I was
sense.
shunned by
Yeah,
the women, I would be like, get out
yeah,
too.
yeah.
But their bright idea, they're like, "Well, go throw Cheryl in there by herself and see what happens." Well, nothing, literally nothing happened at all.
Mhm.
When I was by myself, I didn't get a feeling, but I just cross-legged sat down in the middle of the front of the chapel. And then once my friends came in, we started recording, we started talking. I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm here, but I like you. I want to know more about you. Like, we're friends here. Like, I don't push me away, basically." And it was almost like we made friends
Oh,
via
that's
these
cool.
EVPs that were coming back. And at the end, it was like, "Is there anything else that we could do before we leave?" And it clearly says, "No, thank you."
Oh, wow.
So it's like, ah,
Yeah, no, that's awesome. See, and, you know, it's the understanding, right? Like, like we say it all the time as paranormal investigators, you treat the spirits the way you would treat the living if you went into their house, right? You wouldn't go.
Exactly. You don't wanna come barging in like, "Move
Right.
something."
So the more you know about a location, it's so good to know the history and some of the paranormal claims, because then
Mhm.
without knowing that, like you wouldn't have been able to make that connection, you know,
Exactly.
and make it
Exactly.
better,
And I
and
mean, I roll with a lot of mediums, so they don't really like to know what the
right.
location has had happened before because they wanna experience that, but I'm full on researching, finding out every little detail that I can,
Yeah.
snickering behind the camera as I film them walking through the
Because you know.
because I'm like, "I know everything."
Um,
Uh,
all right.
but
So
no, and that's I mean, that's been spectacular,
besi
knowing what I'm getting into.
yeah. Um, Joe is saying, it's awesome when a ghost says your name unless in an angry tone. That's happened to me a few times. And I heard it with my ear. And
Well,
then,
most things on the DR60 sound like it's an angry tone, but
yeah, mine, I don't use the DR60, so I just use like, Sony's or Olympus's or something like that. But
Mhm.
we were at Wildwood Sanitarium, and yeah, it came over quite creepily. But I didn't feel anything negative about it. But I want to say, aside from your most recent trip, which I want you to share with our viewers about that, because I want to hear about it. Um, this little Miss Cheryl was just at the catacombs in Paris, so the pictures are phenomenal. I just want to hear about it. But aside from that, because I don't know what could top that, but what would you say is your most favorite place that you've been?
That's tough because I'm so close to the Queen Mary and I've been there for so many times. Although it is not as active as I would like, it's more active than it used to be. Um,
But
I
you
say
think that's
hands
because so
down
many
right
people have
now,
gone there and have tried to do you think that people going there and investigating and trying to communicate has made it more active than what it was?
it's a possibility, but I think the pandemic had a lot to do with it. I think the spirits were just starving for attention and I don't know. I listen better now. So who knows? Who knows if it wasn't more active before when I used to go?
True, true.
But honestly, like the place that I can go, I can just rent a room, hang out with the spirits is Glen Tavern Inn.
Yeah.
So it's close to home, it's, whatever, but I love the Payne House in Coventry, Rhode Island. I love the Winchester Mystery House
That
in
I've
San
never been there.
Jose. I got to do a séance with Patty Negri there, and it
Yeah.
was incredible.
And see, it's one of the places I wanna go just to see, because, I mean, I can't
Yes.
imagine seeing that
Spectacular.
location.
Virginia City, like, the city has a vibe. You go into an antique store and I got sick. I mean, the whole town is haunted, not just buildings. It's
Oh,
like
it's
the
like
streets
Gettysburg.
are haunted.
It's like Gettysburg.
Right, right.
Have you been?
Like, goosebumps like crazy. I have not been to Gettysburg. That's another
Girl,
bucket list, but
listen, if you ever make it out, I will give you a paranormal tour around Gettysburg. We'll do it for the weekend.
so excited.
Yeah,
I even got to go I followed my husband on one of his trips, his work trips to Hawaii, and I met a couple that owned a paranormal group, and they gave tours. Well, I was the only one that showed up to the tour, so we went, I mean, all over the place. They took me to the, backwood areas where you're not really supposed to go. They took me to these, battlefields. I literally, like, jumped in these random people's car, and we took off into the middle of nowhere. We're walking around in these battlefields in Hawaii and just, like I mean, but when you get the opportunity, you have to just say yes. Like, "Yes, I wanna try this, I wanna go there, I wanna"
yeah,
you gotta get the
yeah.
experience.
That's so true. Um, I'm gonna say some of these comments really quick. I don't do paranormal at all. What I said is purely my experience in life from when I was a teenager. Yeah, I think with his grandmother and everything, which is I think is awesome. So you don't do paranormal, but welcome. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah,
Um,
you if you go on a ghost hunt at some point, you have an experience, you may get hooked just like I did.
yeah. Brandon, hi Brandon. I don't think most voices are angry. I just think it takes a lot to talk and comes out that way. I can feel that for sure.
It's
Um,
like getting a text from somebody. You can't
yeah,
really
yep,
understand the conversation truly unless you're face to face, and
yeah.
can you be face to face
We're
with a
talking, right?
yeah.
If you
Exactly.
ladies ever come to Adelaide, South Australia, I would love to go to Australia. I know where a real haunted cemetery is. Basically, the whole town is haunted and has a haunted history. I love haunted towns.
I believe it, and Australia's got such a history.
Salem is like
You
that.
know,
Yes, I've never been to Salem.
I went to Salem when I was in Massachusetts, and again, it was more about the shopping than the ghost hunting, but still, you know, what can you do?
So let's talk about the catacombs.
Okay, so I basically my girlfriend's family, like my grade school girlfriend, her family was going on this cruise in Europe, and she didn't have a plus one. So she knew, like, I have no kids, like, I could just up and leave for 2 weeks. So I went, and it wasn't a ghost hunting thing, it wasn't nothing. All I brought with me was my Olympus voice recorder because, all the traveling we were doing, going to Paris, all that stuff, I was kind of afraid to bring my expensive equipment
Yeah,
because I didn't wanna
yeah,
get pickpocketed or lose it and, whatever. So I only brought this little tiny voice recorder. Um, so we end up one of our last stops is the catacombs of Paris, and I mean, this place is ominous from the street. I mean, just knowing the history of how this monument was made is just so ominous.
yeah.
So really, it's like 3 square miles of stacked bones.
3 miles?
Yes, it's 3 square miles. I mean, it's absolutely huge,
Wow.
and, I mean, you're going down. I don't even know how far down it is. It's so deep. You have to go down, like, 130 steps, to get down to the entrance. Um, but so what happened was, they had been using this cemetery for, consecutive use for 10 centuries, and it finally closed in 1780.
Wow.
Right? So there were way too many bodies, there were way too many leftovers that they really needed to r move everything in order to, build up the city, and so there's this hole, and they literally took all of these graves and all of these leftovers and bones and threw them down this hole, and what they said was there's, like, 5,000,000 people's bodies.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, even just looking at the doorway that took you into the catacombs, it's like it's unbelievable.
I
It's
can't imagine.
unbelievable. They literally, transfers as far as transfers from the cemetery into this ossuary continued until 1814. So the first
Oh,
one was
wow.
1785, and they emptied the largest, cemetery in Paris from 85 to 1787.
Now, don't you think they would have to get permission from the families and shit?
These were back in the days when they didn't keep records and, I don't know
True.
if they had any kind of if they had no choice or what the deal was, but, um, I mean, just the fact that, like, literally there's 5,000,000 people.
That's
But as
insane.
we're walking through, it was much later where they decided to stack the bones. So they got, like, femurs and skulls making the walls. Because I was walking down, I was like, "Man, these are all legs and heads. Where's the rest of them?"
Right.
Because literally, how many people is this if it's all, like, just miles of legs and skulls? It's just
Yeah. Do
but I mean,
you
basically
you
what they
ever
did was they stacked those because they're easier to stack, and
make
then
a
they
wall?
just tossed the other bones behind it. So
Wow.
that's how they decided to
How'd they get them to
kind of
how are they stuck?
I know, right? I have no idea. Silly, I don't know, glue,
I don't know how they
I don't know, but they had an area that was under construction where they just had bags of bones everywhere,
Oh, wow. So they
mixed
still
up,
don't
everything.
so they're
They're
all
still they're
not wow.
still restacking, and honestly, they said the thing that is damaging, um, the bones and the displays the most are the people. I mean,
Really?
just when I was in there, I saw 2 people taking pictures, and they were, like, leaning back on the wall. It's like,
Don't touch it.
Exactly.
See, and now
So,
it's because of
I
people like that.
wonder if it makes me wonder if at some point they're going to stop letting the
Mhm.
public go down there
Right. I was just
because
gonna say, because of people like that, I probably won't
Mhm.
ever get to see it.
And there was, like, a two-year-old that I saw that was just running free. I recorded I had my voice recorder on my arm, I always keep one on my arm, when I was in there, and I told you I was gonna listen to it today, and I got 3 voices.
Really?
2 of them sounded like a child, and one of them actually sounded like it said, "They're kids."
Oh, wow.
And then the 3rd one was like a woman's voice, but there were people passing us and stuff, but when somebody's passing me, like, I'm hearing footsteps and I'm hearing them, talking as they're walking up and as they're walking away. Like, these voices sounded like they were right next to me.
Wow.
So I'm like, "Oh, what are these children doing here?" But, I mean, it's everybody. It's adults, it's kids, it's
I wouldn't bring my kids into something like that.
No!
I just
I'd
wouldn't.
hold on to them at
Young
least,
children,
so,
young
they
children.
don't, like, start
Yeah,
touching stuff and
yeah. I mean, I
but
get
I
a
mean,
little
adults are doing it too.
yeah. I mean, I get a little, protective. I'm very protective
Yes.
of Gettysburg, and, I when the kids are jumping all over the monuments and da da da, I'm
Yep.
like, "Cringe." I'm like, "Get them down." You know what I
It's
mean?
the
Like
same thing with communicating with the afterlife. You gotta have respect. You've gotta have respect in your life, you've gotta have respect when you're investigating. I mean, it
yeah.
seems like it's obvious, but, uh, you know
Um Truth or Demons podcast. Hey, Stevie. When I was
Yeah.
in Greece, people were jumping over the ropes and taking selfies in the room. And I say I wouldn't even do it. It's so disrespectful. I'm worried about the bad juju that comes with stuff like that.
Totally, and they even searched our bags to make sure we didn't take bones with us.
Stop it. So
Come
that means
on.
that people have done that.
I mean, I might have taken a rock or 2.
Well, rocks are different, right? I agree with Sandy. There's a different level to spirit voices. I
True.
100% agree. Even when you hear a disembodied voice, I mean, I'm telling you, I investigate with my 5 girls all the time. I know their voices, I know when they talk. So when I know I hear a different voice in the room, I'm like, "What was that? Did somebody just say this?" Like, I have to confirm it because, there is a different level. There's a different sound to that,
Yes, and that's why they jump out at me when I'm listening to some kind of audio.
for
Hmm,
sure, for sure. If you don't respect the spirits, they won't respect you. It's true.
precisely.
Yeah. And, uh, so Um, Big Ben is saying, I don't think many people talk about Snowtown nowadays. It's not good history and was pretty bad. No paranormal people have ever tried to contact the victims. It's just not spoke about. I think that's in somewhere in Australia. I
Oh,
think
yeah.
Snowtown. I've never heard of it actually. Big Ben.
Give me something to look up. Let me write this down.
Yeah.
Snowtown.
Um, you know what? And every time I think of Australia, I always think about that horrible fire, like that big, huge fire. And it just, I know Australia is big, but
Mhm.
I just that whole thing that almost wiped out just species. And you know what
Yeah,
I mean? Like
really.
it's just devastating. Like my heart just totally poured out for Australia when that whole thing was going on. I mean, that's every time I see Australia, that's what I think about because it's
Mhm.
just devastating. Um,
Now you're
yeah,
really making us wanna go there, Big Ben.
I know. He keeps on talking about this cool
Urban
stuff.
explorations, I'm pretty sure you could set us up if we get there.
Oh,
So start
yeah.
saving up.
Urbex is so cool. I wish I had the balls to do urban explorations. I don't. I'm too afraid I'm gonna come across some crazy, like, uh, you know, wrong turn people or something somewhere, and I'm gonna get murdered in the middle of the woods. You know what I mean? Like, my luck.
See, I'm a little more wild, like, I'll run around LA talking to strangers. I mean, that's pretty bad.
Yeah, no, not me. I'm afraid of people, not ghosts. I'm afraid of people, crazy people. My friend Dan
Yeah,
lost his house in that fire. Oh,
yeah, it's
so
terrible.
terrible, terrible. It's so terrible. I'm telling you, it's just horrible to think about. Now, um, so how long are you allowed? How long were you allowed to see all three? all 3 square miles of the catacombs, or are there places you weren't allowed to go?
No, not necessarily. I think we only walked about a mile total, but I mean, we were kind of on a straight line path. My girlfriend had kind of warned me a little bit, saying when she was there, she heard her name called and she kind of took off in another direction and got separated from her tour. But for us, it was just self led and it was an obvious path, and there wasn't really anywhere that you could go off. So they must have changed things. So I'm sure there are offshoots where there is more because we just went in one basically straight line, and that was crazy. I couldn't even
How many people
imagine
can
what's
fit
hiding.
how many people do they fit in there when you're down there? I mean,
There there is a running, like, total. So they count you as you go in, and then they count you as you come out, so they only let up to 200 people in. I mean, that's a
oh,
lot.
that's a lot of people.
That's a lot, and it wasn't like we were standing in line waiting for the people in front of us. We were just kinda walking freely, and then we were taking our time because I was like, "I'm gonna live every second of this." It took us, like, an hour and a half to do it, but people were just passing us, passing us, passing us, but, you know, you could take as much time as you want.
That's awesome. And now are there
It's
any
really
there's
cool.
and there's no stories to these bones, right? Like, there's no, like, they know who any of these people were. They just kind of
They do have certain burials, military, heroes and such that do have actual, headstones there.
Oh,
So there is a list online. Um, so there is probably, let's see, like 20 people that they know of that are buried there.
okay.
But yeah, some of them do have it's not all just randomly thrown in there. There are some actual graves still set up
In the catacombs.
in the catacombs.
Truth or Demons podcast. If you haven't, please go sub to that. It's great. Did you have to stand in line long?
No, we basically had a timed entry. So we had our appointment time and, there's a short
Oh,
line, and they really do a good job of staggering so there's not too many people in there at once, because I was able to get good audio. You know what I mean? You'd hear people passing, and they didn't have headphones for the little audio tours, so you could hear the boxes, you know, telling the information about the catacombs. So,
gotcha.
but it was obvious, you know what I mean? It was obvious what was people and what was
Yes,
a child
for sure.
whispering to
Sure.
me.
Sure. I totally understand what you're saying because I can tell the difference. Some most of the time, obviously we're not always 100% right, but
Right, and again, these things happen, and it's like, I'm not even here for a ghost hunt. I'm
right.
just getting history. I'm trying to experience the history and the past of this area, and, I mean, I wish I could have been there by myself overnight. I
That would
would
be
have
cool.
done it. I would have done it because I didn't feel unsafe, again.
Yeah, yeah. I would do that. I would do that. Again, like, I would feel safe there. It's like the urbex, like the urban explorations of going in the woods and wilding out and just finding an abandoned building and going inside. Like, my
Thanks,
love.
mom.
Yeah.
So I'm a little open to that kind of thing. I don't know.
I love it. I love the idea of it, but I would have to go with somebody that knew what they were doing, knew the area, could fight off anything that came to get me. You know what I mean?
Ooh, there's other ways. See, and you know what? That's what I'm looking for. If y'all know anybody that has locations anywhere that haven't been investigated, need to be investigated, need cleansings, like, hit us up.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. So I want you to
We
do
are
that
open
too.
to all kinds of strange things.
So where can people do you put your sorry, this isn't you.
Am I boring
Where do
you?
no, not at
Mm, mm,
all.
mm, mm.
Not at all.
Okay.
So where did you put up EVPs and stuff?
I don't really put up the EVPs necessarily, but a lot of times when we do have a great investigation, we'll go on a show and talk about it. Like, I've been on Andrea Perron's show, A World Awakening. I've been on Scott Allen's show. We do Dead Air Full Spectrum a lot. So we'll just kind of sit there and chat for 2 hours about what we experienced, and we'll set up clips and things like that. But you know what? I need to get on my website and just put a page of EVPs.
It's hard to
since that
keep
is
up
kind of my
though.
jam. It's really hard to keep up.
It is, because you gotta
So that's
listen to the
why
audio, and when you have 4 recorders
oh,
and you're there
I
for, let's just say
know.
you're there for 4 hours, because, I mean, that doesn't happen anymore, but you have 4
And I
recorders,
listen to all of it.
that's 20 hours of audio or 16 hours of
Yeah.
audio that you're listening to, you know what I mean?
And
And it's
it's
a
and it's
lot.
not as easy to cut and, show, especially with the DR60 because it's such old technology. It's hard to get into, computers. It's hard to get into the computer, and it doesn't always sound the best. So it's almost like live is my best bet, and I'll cut and, save the easy ones to transfer. Like the Olympus and stuff, it's got a USB port, I just shove it in the computer and easy peasy. Um,
Yeah. Well,
so yeah,
well, I used to
evidence, it's hard to
have
cut the
a
evidence.
I used to have a page, it was called, Paranormal Brew EVPs, where we would just share our
Mhm.
EVPs that we got from, locations and stuff, and the page has been inactive for, like, years because it's so hard to I have audio from, like, 2 years ago I haven't listened to yet.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
See, I'm
I
not quite
I'm
I'm not
I'm
quite there
behind.
because I'm all about, like, okay, I got a job to do, like, as soon as I get home, I empty my bags and I take all of my cameras and my voice recorders and I make sure I get it all on my computer so it doesn't get lost, uh, and then as soon as I take batteries out and put my stuff away, then I stick the headphones on and I'm watching video or I try to do it, like, right off the bat.
Um Megan says, Cheryl sounds like Giada De Laurenti, Food Network of the paranormal. Very similar voice.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna look her up now.
Big Ben says, I'm yet to go back and film the secret 1800s catacomb tunnels in there. Um, I guess, are there catacombs in Australia? I guess is or
There's catacombs all over the place.
yeah, yeah. But there's only the ones in Paris are
There's
like, I
only
guess
one in
the
Paris.
yeah, I think they're the biggest known ones. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, So so Plum Paranormal, you have a page, Plum Paranormal, right?
Yes.
So
If you
people
go to, yeah, plumparanormal.com, my contact information's there. Send me an email if you have questions, if you're having trouble in a location or at your house, your personal house, like let us know. We have a network of people that can help.
awesome.
If we can't do it, we know somebody that we can. That can. So on there, I've got different podcasts that we've done, really cool shows, especially the Glen Tavern ones. That place is amazing. Um,
Oh, does this mean
and
that
I also have
Paranormal Brew is gonna be on there?
I put you on there already. So
Yay!
I do have links to some of my favorite things. And again, I still need to update and add more because I've got so many people that I really want to support that just do good things in the paranormal. So if you hop on over there, there's a page of links, and it's all people that are near and dear to me. And oh yeah, I need to come out to the East Coast
Yeah.
again. I do.
Big Ben, I'm gonna have to sub to your channel, Big Ben, because I wanna see this. He's my last video was of some tunnels, ladies, is what I'm talking about. Cool.
All right.
I wanna check him
We're
out.
gonna we're gonna do some online exploration.
Yeah, yeah. Cheryl, I need you to come out again. And now Sandy is the Pain House?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
okay. I feel like I've heard of that place. I feel like house.
You
Is it
know,
P-I-N-E?
yes.
Yeah, I feel like yeah,
Pain
I
House Museum. It's an insane house. You can see on like how the floors are laid out, whether it was the colonial period or if it was after, or it's the whole place is just it's just crawling with activity.
that's
I don't
awesome.
know if any TV people have been there.
I've heard of it though. I've heard of it. I know I've heard of it. She's in Rhode
Right.
Island. So she's I mean, it's a hike for me. I'm in Jersey, but like South Jersey. So
Right.
I'm like down by Philly. But we're always me and my peaches are always looking for new places to go. So
Yeah,
um
and it's hard to get into a lot of locations.
yeah, yeah, it is. And especially to investigate, like the Winchester House, you could buy a ticket and go through it, but to investigate it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it would be
Insane.
Sandy said,
You
I
know,
spoke
we had
to
limitations, but it was a pleasure to be able to be in there,
yeah.
you know,
It sounds like you
for
went to a whole
hours in
lot
an
of
evening.
cool places. I'm actually please go check out Plum Paranormal's page because, she, like, puts up stuff. I'm like, "Man, this girl is all over the place." Like,
Yay! I
great.
say yes. When somebody asks, I say yes.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, if you guys have any qualms about working with other people, like, just do it. Just try it. If you don't like a situation you get put into, that's understandable, but you know what? Be open to kind of bring people together because I think we really need more of that, and you're gonna learn a lot, by doing things differently and
Yeah.
meeting new people.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I mean, I we wouldn't be here if I didn't open myself up to work with other people, you know what I mean? And to be, you know what I mean?
Right?
So it totally like I've met a lot of wonderful people doing it that way, just being independent and just working with all different kinds of people. Of course, I have my core girls, my peaches,
Yes.
they're my core. But there's other things that we do, and work with other people and help
Right.
out. So yeah, and this weekend we have a big one coming up. It's Penhurst Paracon, so it's a pretty
Nice.
big one.
That's the
Um,
biggest Paracon.
it's huge, pretty big. Um, so with that, my love, I've had you for an hour and 15 or an hour
It's
and
like
10.
nothing.
I know it went so fast. Did we talk about everything that you wanted to talk
No.
about? Because if not, it's your show, man. We can keep talking.
Girl, I will talk you to sleep at this point.
I think so.
2 2
You
hours is
might fall
nothing for
asleep.
me. I mean, you give me a topic. Let's put a random word generator up there, and I'll go. So,
I love it.
I think you should cut me off before I get too crazy. Uh,
I want to thank everybody in the chat. Everybody. Big Ben, thank you. Australia, I'm sending you guys love. I really am very sad to hear that Australia is still being affected by those fires. But I pray and send prayers and all that to Australia for sure. And Jing, Indonesia, and everybody that's in the chat that's there to support you. I love it. Please, everybody, please share my show out. Not for me and Paranormal Brew, but for Cheryl and Plum Paranormal. And that's what I'm here for, to support these ladies. Thank you so much, Big Ben. Um,
aw, and thank you. This was so
yes,
much fun.
I know it went by so quickly.
I know.
I felt
It's
I'm
my
like,
secret power.
and I love it. I want to say goodnight to everybody. Please be sure to join me next Wednesday, 8:30 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, sweet dreams. Cheryl,
Bye. Aw.
it's so quickly, right?